Welcome to our deep dive
Oh, cool.
into Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens.
Okay.
We're going to kind of take a journey through the entire history of humankind,
Wow.
exploring how we evolved from those early hominids to the planet-dominating species we are today.
That's quite a story.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's full of unexpected twists and turns and some seriously thought-provoking insights about what makes us human.
Yeah, one of the first things that struck me about Sapiens is how it challenges the traditional
Yeah,
linear view
Yeah.
of human evolution.
like a straight line.
Yeah, we often picture this straight line
Yeah,
from apes to us.
totally.
But the reality is far more interesting
Yeah.
for a good chunk of our history.
Okay.
Multiple human species coexisted,
Really?
each with its own unique traits and culture.
Like, we tend to think of Neanderthals as a primitive ancestor.
Right.
But they were actually our contemporaries,
Yeah.
sharing the planet with Homo sapiens for thousands of years.
Right.
What happened to them? Why are we the only human species left standing?
Sapiens delves into two main theories.
Okay.
The replacement theory, which suggests that sapiens outcompeted Neanderthals,
Uh-huh.
and the interbreeding theory, which posits that they actually interbred.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you might have a little bit of Neanderthal DNA in you right now.
Whoa, that's a trip.
Yeah.
So what ultimately set us apart from those other human species?
Right.
Was it simply a matter of brute strength or superior intelligence?
Well, Sapiens makes a compelling case that what truly gave Homo sapiens an edge was something far more profound.
Okay.
Our ability to believe in things that don't physically exist.
Mm-hmm.
Harari calls this the cognitive revolution,
Okay.
and it's the foundation for everything from religion to the modern corporation.
So you're saying our success hinges on our ability to create and believe in shared fictions?
Yeah.
Interesting. What are some examples of these imagined realities
Right.
that have played such a significant role in human history?
Think about it. Religions,
Yeah.
nations,
Uh-huh.
money.
Right. Even corporations.
Mm.
These are all collective myths.
Okay.
They exist because we collectively agree that they do.
Right.
They have no tangible form, yet they shape our behavior in profound ways.
Yeah.
A great example from the book is the Peugeot Company.
Okay.
It's a legal fiction,
Mhm.
a story that allows a group of people to act as a single entity,
Uh-huh.
own property,
Yeah.
and do business.
Okay.
This ability to weave narratives to create these imagined realities allowed us to cooperate in large numbers,
Yeah.
far exceeding the capabilities of any other species.
It's incredible how a simple belief in a story could have such a powerful impact on our development as a species.
Right.
Sapiens uses the analogy of a Peugeot lion to drive home this point, right?
Yeah.
Something about how this imaginary lion can have more influence than any real lion roaming the savannah.
Exactly. It highlights how these shared fictions, though intangible, can exert immense force on the world,
Right.
driving everything from social structures to global economics.
This ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers is arguably the defining feature of humanity.
Okay, so this leads us to another turning point that Sapiens dives into,
Okay.
the agricultural revolution.
Right.
It's often portrayed as a giant leap forward for humanity,
Yeah,
but the book presents it as something of a double-edged sword, doesn't it?
that's right. Sapiens argues that agriculture,
Yeah.
while allowing for food surpluses
Yeah.
and ultimately leading to the development of civilizations,
Okay.
may have actually been a bit of a trap.
A trap.
Yeah.
Help me understand this. How could agriculture,
Sure.
the very foundation of our modern societies, be a negative development?
Well, consider this. Hunter-gatherers had a varied diet, more leisure time, and were arguably healthier than the early farmers who followed.
Mm-hmm.
Agriculture led to a more sedentary lifestyle,
Yeah.
longer work hours,
Right.
and a greater reliance on a limited number of crops,
Okay.
making early farmers more susceptible to famine and disease.
That's a fascinating, if unsettling, perspective.
Yeah.
I see now why Harari calls agriculture history's biggest fraud.
Hmm.
So if it wasn't such a great deal for humans,
Right.
who are the real beneficiaries of this agricultural revolution?
Here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Sapiens suggests that the biggest winners might not have been humans at all,
Really?
but the plants we domesticated.
Wow.
Think about wheat, for example.
Okay.
It went from being a wild grass to a global staple,
Yeah.
thriving on vast swaths of land cultivated by us.
Right.
In a way, wheat domesticated humans by ensuring its own survival and spread.
That's such a mind-bending thought.
Yeah,
So instead of us domesticating wheat,
right.
we ended up enslaved by it.
kind of a...
That's quite a twist on the traditional narrative.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how the story of humankind is far more complex and nuanced than we might imagine.
Right.
But what about those animals we did domesticate?
Right.
Did they benefit as well from the agricultural revolution?
While domesticated animals like cows and chickens certainly saw their numbers explode,
Yeah.
their individual lives often became a far cry from their wild ancestors.
Right.
Sapiens raises some uncomfortable questions about the ethics of domestication,
Yeah.
highlighting the suffering many animals endure in exchange for their species' success.
It definitely adds a whole other layer to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We often think of human history in terms of progress and triumph,
Right.
but Sapiens really makes us confront the hidden costs and unintended consequences of our actions.
Totally.
Not only for ourselves, but for the entire planet.
Exactly. It encourages us to move beyond a simplistic view of history
Yeah.
and to examine the complex interplay of ideas of power and unintended consequences
Right.
that have shaped the world we live in today.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
It is.
Let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about more of Sapiens.
One of the things that really resonated with me in Sapiens
Yeah.
is how it challenges this assumption that technological progress automatically equals happiness.
Right?
We tend to believe that as technology advances, our lives will get better.
Uh-huh.
But the book presents a more nuanced perspective.
You're right. There's that section where Harari talks about how despite all our technological marvels, we might not be any happier than those hunter-gatherers we were just talking about. I remember thinking, wait, really?
Yeah.
But we have smartphones and the internet.
Yeah.
How could they be as happy as us?
It's a compelling argument.
Right.
Sapiens cites studies suggesting that happiness levels are surprisingly stable
Okay.
across different cultures and time periods.
Really?
It seems our brains have a kind of set point for happiness.
Mm.
And while external factors might cause temporary fluctuations,
Yeah.
we tend to revert back to this baseline.
So you're saying that even if we achieve all those things we strive for,
Right.
a big house, a fancy car, the perfect partner,
Yeah.
it might not actually make us any happier in the long run.
That's the idea.
Mm.
Sapiens even suggests that the modern world with its constant distractions and pressures
Yeah.
might be contributing to increased anxiety and dissatisfaction.
Okay.
Think about it. We're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should buy,
Right.
how we should look,
Yeah.
and what we should be achieving.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the rat race and lose sight of what truly matters.
It's true. We live in a culture that often equates happiness with material possessions and external achievements.
Right.
But if technology isn't the answer to happiness, what is...
Yeah.
Does Sapiens offer any guidance on that front?
Well, it doesn't provide a simple formula for happiness,
Okay.
but it does encourage us to be more mindful of how we define progress.
Yeah.
And to question whether our relentless pursuit of technological advancement is truly serving our well-being.
So maybe instead of looking to technology to solve all our problems,
Yeah.
we should be focusing on cultivating those internal factors that contribute to a sense of well-being.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sapiens suggests that true happiness might lie in cultivating things like gratitude, compassion,
Right.
and a sense of purpose.
Okay.
Those things are less about external circumstances and more about how we relate to ourselves and the world around us.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from chasing after external goals to cultivating inner peace and contentment.
Right.
But I can't help but wonder about all those other technological advancements that Sapiens discusses.
Okay.
Things like genetic engineering and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Those have the potential to fundamentally change what it means to be human, don't they?
Absolutely. Sapiens goes beyond simply chronicling the past. It raises some truly mind-blowing possibilities about the future,
Okay.
suggesting that we may be on the verge of engineering ourselves out of existence.
Okay, that sounds a little dramatic.
Yeah.
When you say engineering ourselves out of existence,
Yeah.
what exactly do you mean? Harari outlines 3 potential paths that could lead to the end of Homo sapiens as we know it. The first is genetic engineering.
Okay.
We've already seen its applications in manipulating crops and livestock.
Right.
But imagine applying those same techniques to humans.
I can see where this is going. Designer babies, eliminating diseases,
Right.
maybe even enhancing intelligence or physical abilities.
Yeah.
It's both fascinating and a little bit terrifying, isn't it?
Precisely. And while some applications might seem beneficial,
Yeah.
Sapiens urges us to consider the potential unintended consequences. What happens when we start tampering with the fundamental building blocks of life?
Right.
Who gets to decide which genes are desirable and which are not?
It raises a whole host of ethical questions.
It does.
And that's just one path.
Right.
What are the other two scenarios Sapiens explores?
The second path is the merging of humans and machines.
Okay.
What Harari calls cyborg engineering.
Cyborg engineering.
Yeah, think about prosthetic limbs and cochlear implants. Those are early examples.
Right.
But imagine a future where brain-computer interfaces and cybernetic enhancements become commonplace.
So we're talking about a future where the lines between human and machine become blurred.
Exactly.
What would that mean for our understanding of identity?
Right.
Consciousness.
Yeah.
Even the very essence of what it means to be human.
Those are exactly the questions Sapiens wants us to grapple with.
Okay.
If you replace a limb with a bionic one, are you still fully human? What happens when you start replacing parts of your brain?
Right.
It challenges us to rethink our definitions and assumptions about who we are.
This is getting pretty deep.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a third path, something about artificial intelligence, right?
Yes, the third and perhaps most unsettling possibility is the development of superintelligent AI.
Okay.
What happens when we create machines that surpass our own intellectual capabilities and potentially develop consciousness and self-awareness?
Okay, now we're definitely venturing into science fiction territory. I'm trying to imagine a world where AI calls the shots.
Yeah.
Would we become pets to our own creations? Or even worse, would they decide we're obsolete?
It's a thought-provoking, if somewhat frightening scenario.
Yeah.
While Sapiens doesn't claim to have all the answers,
Right.
it does urge us to be mindful of the potential consequences of our technological choices.
Okay.
It ends with a rather haunting reference to the Frankenstein prophecy,
Okay.
suggesting that we may be creating beings that will ultimately surpass and replace us.
The Frankenstein prophecy?
Yeah.
So you're saying we might be designing our own successors?
It's a possibility.
That's a pretty chilling thought.
It is. Sapiens suggests that these future beings, whether they're genetically modified humans, cyborgs, or AI, might be so different from us that they'll be essentially alien.
Wow.
They might not share our values, our emotions, or even our understanding of the world.
So it's possible that we're on a path to creating a future where Homo sapiens becomes just another footnote? In the grand narrative of evolution,
It's possible.
I have to admit that's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It feels like we've gone from exploring the origins of humanity to contemplating its potential demise.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
But Sapiens isn't just about doom and gloom.
Right.
It's also a call to action.
Okay.
It challenges us to be more conscious and deliberate about the choices we make today, recognizing that those choices will have a profound impact on the future of our species.
Yeah, that's a good point. Welcome back to our deep dive into Sapiens.
Thanks.
We've journeyed through the entire history of humankind,
Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
exploring how we went from those early hunter-gatherers to a species on the verge of potentially transforming itself into something entirely new.
Right.
But what does it all mean? Does Sapiens offer any insights into those age-old questions about the meaning of life and what it means to be human?
One of the things I appreciate about Sapiens is that it doesn't try to spoon-feed us prepackaged answers or grand philosophies. Instead, it encourages us to grapple with these existential questions ourselves,
Yeah.
recognizing that there are no easy solutions or one-size-fits-all truths.
You're right. It's not about finding a simple answer in the back of the book.
Yeah.
It's about engaging in that process of inquiry,
Exactly.
of questioning our assumptions and wrestling with those big, messy questions that have captivated philosophers for centuries.
Yeah, those big questions that we've been wrestling with forever.
So amidst all those complex historical narratives and mind-boggling future scenarios, does Sapiens offer any perspectives on the nature of happiness?
Well, it does explore some interesting ideas about happiness.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about our brains having a happiness set point?
Yeah, like a baseline.
Right. It suggests that maybe happiness isn't about external achievements or possessions,
Okay.
but rather about cultivating a certain internal state of mind.
It's like that old saying, happiness comes from within.
Exactly.
But it's easy to forget that. When we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need to buy more, achieve more, and be more to be happy.
Right. It's all about more, more, more.
So does Sapiens offer any suggestions for how to break free from that cycle of wanting and dissatisfaction?
Well, it delves into a few different schools of thought.
Huh?
For example, it explores the Buddhist concept of finding happiness through detachment,
Mm-hmm.
from material desires and cultivating inner peace.
Okay.
The idea is that suffering often arises from our attachment to things,
Yeah.
possessions,
Okay.
outcomes,
Uh-huh.
even our own identities.
Interesting. So by letting go,
Yeah,
we can reduce suffering.
that's the idea.
That resonates with me. I remember that section where Sapiens talks about how our brains are wired to crave,
Right.
to constantly seek out the next pleasurable experience.
Always wanting more.
Yeah,
But-
but ultimately it's a fleeting satisfaction.
Exactly. The Buddhist perspective suggests that by learning to let go of those attachments,
Yeah.
to accept things as they are, we can find a more lasting sense of contentment and inner peace.
That's a powerful idea. It's about shifting our focus
Right?
from chasing external rewards to cultivating a sense of inner fulfillment.
Exactly.
But how do we actually put that into practice in our modern world?
Right.
Especially when we're constantly surrounded by temptations and distractions.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And I don't think Sapiens pretends to have all the answers.
Right.
But it does encourage us to become more mindful of the choices we make,
Okay.
to question whether our actions are truly aligned with what we value and what brings us a sense of meaning and purpose.
I appreciate that Sapiens doesn't shy away from tackling these big questions.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't offer easy solutions.
Right.
It's more about prompting us to think critically and to find our own paths.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that the meaning of life isn't something we find out there in the world.
Yeah.
It's something we create through our choices, our actions, our relationships with others.
It's about taking ownership of our own narratives, isn't it?
Exactly.
Instead of passively accepting the stories we're told about success, happiness, and the meaning of life,
Right?
we can choose to write our own stories.
Beautifully put. And that's what makes Sapiens such a compelling and thought-provoking read.
It really is.
It's a reminder that the story of humanity is still being written,
Yeah,
and we all have a role to play in shaping that narrative.
that's exciting and a little bit scary.
It is, but it's also empowering.
As we stand on the cusp of these incredible technological advancements,
Right.
it's more important than ever to ask ourselves what kind of future we want to create.
Couldn't agree more.
I think this deep dive has provided our listener with a lot to ponder.
It has.
From the dawn of humanity to the potential rise of superintelligent AI,
Right.
Sapiens takes us on an incredible journey through time,
It does.
challenging our assumptions about who we are, where we came from, and where we might be headed.
It really makes you think.
It does, and it's a book that I highly recommend to anyone who's curious about the big questions of life.
Me too.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.